July 1947. Something crashed in the desert near Roswell, New Mexico. Was it a weather balloon, as the government claimed, or something far more mysterious? Eyewitnesses spoke of strange debris, metallic fragments that defied explanation, and even whispers of recovered bodies, not of this earth. Decades later, the Roswell Incident remains one of the most debated and controversial UFO cases in history. Cover-ups, leaked documents, and deathbed confessions have only deepened the mystery. Tonight, on Dark Grays, we peel back the layers of secrecy, unravel the testimonies, and examine the chilling evidence. Was Roswell the biggest UFO cover-up of all time? Let's find out.
The Roswell Incident. Military balloon debris recovered in 1947 near Roswell, New Mexico, later became the basis for conspiracy theories alleging that the United States military recovered a crashed extraterrestrial spacecraft. Operated from the nearby Alamogordo Army Airfield and part of the top-secret Project Mogul, the balloon program was intended to detect Soviet nuclear tests. After metallic and rubber debris was recovered by Roswell Army Airfield personnel, the United States Army announced their possession of a flying disc. This announcement made international headlines, but was retracted within a day. To obscure the purpose and source of the debris, the Army reported that it was a conventional weather balloon. In 1978, retired Air Force officer Jesse Marcel revealed that the Army's weather balloon claim had been a cover story and speculated that the debris was of extraterrestrial origin. Popularized by the 1980 book The Roswell Incident, this speculation became the basis for long-lasting and increasingly complex and contradictory UFO conspiracy theories, which over time expanded the incident to include governments concealing evidence of extraterrestrial beings, gray aliens, multiple crashed flying saucers, alien corpses and autopsies, and the reverse engineering of extraterrestrial technology, none of which have any factual basis. In the 1990s, the United States Air Force published multiple reports which established that the incident was related to Project Mogul and not debris from a UFO. Despite this and a general lack of evidence, many UFO proponents claim that the Roswell debris was in fact derived from an alien craft and accuse the US government of a cover-up. The conspiracy narrative has become a trope in science fiction literature, film, and television. The town of Roswell promotes itself as a destination for UFO-associated tourism. 1947 military balloon crash. Roswell was one of many Army airfields in New Mexico when debris was recovered from a ranch near Corona. Researchers at Alamogordo Airfield, less than 150 miles, 240 kilometers from Roswell, were launching classified balloons during the prior weeks. By 1947, the United States had launched thousands of top-secret Project Mogul balloons, carrying devices to listen for Soviet atomic tests. On June 4th, researchers at Alamogordo Army Airfield in New Mexico launched a long train of these balloons. They lost contact with the balloons and balloon-borne equipment within 17 miles, 27 kilometers, of WWW Mac Brazel's ranch near Corona, New Mexico, where a balloon subsequently crashed. Later that month, Brazel discovered tinfoil, rubber tape, and thin wooden beams scattered across several acres of his ranch. With no phone or radio, Brazel was initially unaware of the ongoing flying disc craze. Amid the first summer of the Cold War, press nationwide covered Kenneth Arnold's account of what became known as flying saucers, objects that allegedly performed maneuvers beyond the capabilities of any known aircraft. Coverage of Arnold's report preceded a wave of over 800 similar sightings. When Brazel visited Corona on July 5th, his uncle Hollis Wilson suggested his debris could be from a flying disc. Hundreds of reports had been made during the 4th of July weekend. Newspapers speculated on a possible Soviet origin, and about $3,000, equivalent to $42,000 in 2024, was offered for physical proof. The next day, Brazel drove to Roswell, New Mexico, and informed Sheriff George Wilcox of the debris he had found. Wilcox called Roswell Army Airfield, RAAF. RAAF was home to the 509th Bomb Group of the 8th Air Force, the only unit at the time capable of delivering nuclear weapons. The base assigned Major Jesse Marcel and Captain Sheridan Cavett to return with Brazel and gather the material from the ranch. RAF Base Commander Colonel William Blanchard notified the 8th Air Force Commanding Officer Roger M. Ramey of their findings. On July 8th, RAF Public Information Officer Walter Haut issued a press release stating that the military had recovered a flying disc near Roswell. Robert Porter, an RAF flight engineer, was part of the crew who loaded what he was told was a flying saucer onto the flight bound for Fort Worth Army Airfield in Texas. He described the material, packaged in wrapping paper when he received it, as lightweight and not too large to fit inside the trunk of a car. After station director George Walsh broke the news over Roswell radio station KSWS and relayed it to the Associated Press, his phone lines were overwhelmed. He later recalled, "All afternoon, I tried to call Sheriff Wilcox for more information, but could never get through to him. Media people called me from all over the world." Marcel holding torn foil above packing paper. Papers nationwide published an image from Fort Worth Army Airfield of Major Jesse A. Marcel posing with debris on July 8, 1947. Ramey and Dubose with torn foil and sticks on packing paper. Brig General Roger Ramey left and Colonel Thomas J. Dubose posed with debris. The press release issued by Haut read, "The many rumors regarding the flying disc became a reality yesterday, when the intelligence office of the 509th Bomb Group of the 8th Air Force, Roswell Army Airfield, was fortunate enough to gain possession of a disc through the cooperation of one of the local ranchers and the Sheriff's Office of Chavez County. The flying object landed on a ranch near Roswell sometime last week. Not having phone facilities, the rancher stored the disc until such time as he was able to contact the Sheriff's Office, who in turn notified Major Jesse A. Marcel of the 509th Bomb Group Intelligence Office." Associated Press, July 8, 1947. Media interest in the case dissipated soon after a press conference where General Roger Ramey, his Chief of Staff Colonel Thomas Dubose, and Weather Officer Irving Newton identified the material as pieces of a weather balloon. Newton told reporters that similar radar targets were used at about 80 weather stations across the country. The small number of subsequent news stories offered mundane and prosaic accounts of the crash. On July 9th, the Roswell Daily Record highlighted that no engine or metal parts had been found in the wreckage. Brazel told the Record that the debris consisted of rubber strips, tinfoil, paper, tape, and sticks. Brazel said he paid little attention to it, but returned later with his wife and daughter to gather up some of the debris. Despite later claims that he was forced to repeat a cover story, Brazel told newspaper reporters, "I am sure that what I found was not any weather observation balloon." When interviewed in Fort Worth, Texas, Jesse Marcel described the wreckage as parts of the weather device composed of tinfoil and broken wooden beams. A portion of the material was flown from Texas to Wright Field in Ohio, where Colonel Marcellus Duffy identified it as balloon equipment. Duffy had previous experience with Project Mogul and contacted Mogul's project officer Albert Trakowski to discuss the debris. Unable to disclose details about the project, Duffy identified it as meteorological equipment. The 1947 official account omitted any connection to Cold War military programs. On July 10th, military personnel at Alamogordo gave a demonstration to the press. 4 officers provided a false account of mundane weather balloon usage throughout the previous year. They demonstrated balloon configurations used by the Mogul team as ways to gather meteorological data, offering a plausible explanation for any unusual aspects of the Roswell debris. The Air Force later described the weather balloon story as an attempt to deflect attention from the top-secret Mogul project. Roswell Conspiracy Theories, 1978-1994. Interest in Roswell was rekindled after ufologist Stanton Friedman interviewed Jesse Marcel in 1978. Marcel had accompanied the Roswell debris from the ranch to the Fort Worth press conference. In the 1978 interview, Marcel stated that the weather balloon explanation from the press conference was a cover story, and that he now believed the debris was extraterrestrial. On December 19, 1979, Marcel was interviewed by Bob Pratt of the National Enquirer, and the tabloid brought large-scale attention to the Marcel story the following February. Marcel described a foil that could be crumpled but would uncrumple when released. On September 20th, 1980, the TV series In Search of, hosted by Star Trek actor Leonard Nimoy, aired an interview where Marcel described his participation in the 1947 press conference. They wanted some comments from me, but I wasn't at liberty to do that, so all I could do is keep my mouth shut. And General Ramey is the one who told the newspapers, I mean the newsman, what it was, and to forget about it. It is nothing more than a weather observation balloon. Of course, we both knew differently. Ufologists interviewed Major Marcel's son, Jesse A. Marcel, Jr., MD, who said that when he was 10 years old, his father had shown him flying saucer debris recovered from the Roswell crash site, including a small beam with purple-hued hieroglyphics on it. However, the symbols described as alien hieroglyphics matched the symbols on the adhesive tape that Project Mogul sourced from a New York toy manufacturer. To publish his research, Friedman collaborated with childhood friend and author William Bill Moore, who reached out to established paranormal author Charles Berlitz. Berlitz had previously written about the Bermuda Triangle and had collaborated with Moore to write about the Philadelphia experiment. Crediting Friedman only as an investigator, Moore and Berlitz co-wrote the 1980 book The Roswell Incident. It popularized Marcel's account and added the claimed discovery of alien bodies, found approximately 150 miles west of the original debris site on the plains of San Agustin. Marcel never mentioned the presence of bodies. Friedman, Berlitz and Moore also connected Marcel's account to an earlier statement by Lydia Sleppy, a former teletype operator at the Coat radio station in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Sleppy claimed that she was typing a story about crashed saucer wreckage as dictated by reporter Johnny McBoyle, until interrupted by an incoming message, ordering her to end communications. Between 1978 and the early 1990s, UFO researchers such as Friedman, Moore, and the team of Kevin D. Randall and Donald R. Schmidt interviewed many people who claimed to have had a connection with the events at Roswell in 1947, generating competing and conflicting accounts.
So, was Roswell the site of history's greatest cover-up? Or just a case of Cold War paranoia and mistaken identity? Was it truly a crashed extraterrestrial craft, as some witnesses claimed? Or was it nothing more than a top-secret military balloon project, as the official story suggests? The truth may still be out there, buried beneath decades of secrecy and speculation. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Was Roswell a UFO crash, or just a misunderstanding? If you enjoyed this deep dive into the unknown, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Dark Grays. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode, because the truth is always closer than you think.